Hey, so I went to the local organic shop today, and I was the only person in the store, and I went to ask the young lady behind the counter, and I said these words: "Excuse me, do you know when you get the Cleopatra bath milk back in stock?" And she was quite cold, and indifferent, and I took that personally. I thought, what have I done to deserve this? I'm just a stand-up citizen. I pay my taxes. I'm not a criminal. Completely clear police clearance. But then I realized a lot of men who look like me have made it their core values in life to lie and manipulate women and offer them security in terms of a long-term relationship, and lied to them just to have access to their sexual organs, which has made a lot of women mistrust relatively young men, particularly if they obviously have adequate levels of testosterone and reasonably well built. So I don't have any animosity towards these women who don't like men, because men are fucked up. And I have high standards for men because I think that they are above women in terms of they should be willing to die in the pursuit of greatness. That's why twice as many of your ancestors are women than men, because a lot of men never got the chance to procreate because they're less valuable to the gene pool. 80% of women go over 20% of men because men are more disposable. And you're supposed to have things like competition to weed out the cannon fodder, the disposable ones. It sounds harsh, but so is life. I mean, mosquitoes, I'm sure they have problems in their community too. This is simply how it is. And so you think about that. Twice as many of your ancestors are women than men. Because a lot of men, the good ones, are in demand by women, and they have multiple children with different women. Whereas the super below average men have children with nobody. And that's how it's supposed to be to keep the gene pool strong. And so over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, men have morphed their behavior to be willing to die to prove their worthiness in genes. Men and women are different. Women are programmed to look out for themselves and their children. And that's the way it should be. Because unfortunately, someone has to keep civilization going. Otherwise, we'd all die. And then who's going to look after the chickens and the cows and the birds? Can you imagine wild chickens? They'll just be eaten very quickly and killed by sport from feral house cats. So humans have their place in society. We are very magical beings. And it does sound harsh, but someone has to make a sacrifice to keep civilization going. And you may think that men have the upper hand, but they don't. Because most of the men will die worthless, because society thinks they are shit unless they are handsome, rich, charming, loyal, and have good impulse control, meaning they don't fall to slavery of their vices. And so there's a lot more pressure on men, which there should be, because only 20% of them are worthy of marriage. 80% should die childless. And women too, to a certain extent. Obviously, if they're not fertile or maternal, then they shouldn't get the opportunity to breed either. This sounds pretty heavy, this topic.